applause, I welcome you all for today's lecture on Securing India Through Technology by Dr. Sam Pitroda, former advisor to PM on Public Information Infrastructure. To commence the proceedings, a brief introduction of the speaker. Mr. Sam Pitroda is an internationally respected telecom inventor, entrepreneur, development thinker and policymaker who has spent 49 years in information and communications technology and related global and national developments. Credited with having laid the foundation for India's telecommunications and technology revolution of the 80s, Mr. Pitroda has been a leading campaigner to help bridge the global digital divide. During his tenure as advisor to PM Rajiv Gandhi, Mr. Pitroda led 6 technology missions related to telecommunications, water, literacy, immunization, dairy production and policies. He was also the founder and first chairman of India's Telecom Commission. In these plural roles, Mr. Pitroda helped revolutionize India's development philosophies and policies with a focus on access to technology as the key to social change. As a way to induce the second phase of India's technology revolution, in 2005, Mr. Pitroda headed India's National Knowledge Commission to provide a blueprint of reform for the knowledge-related institutions and infrastructure for the 21st century in the country. Recently, he has served as advisor to the Prime Minister of India on public information infrastructure and innovation with the rank of a cabinet minister. He serves also as the chairman of the Smart Grid Task Force as well as committees to reform public broadcasting, modernize railways, deliver e-governance and other developmental activities. He is also a founding commissioner of UN Broadband Commission for Digital Development and the chairman of International Telecommunication Union's Empowering Development Board that looks to empower developing countries with the use of mobile technology. In addition, Mr. Pitroda holds over 15 honorary PhDs, close to 100 worldwide patents, and has published and lectured widely in US, Europe, Latin America, and Asia. May I now request Director Clause Lieutenant General Balraj Singh Nagar to kindly deliver the welcome remarks. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, eminent speaker, and of course, distinguished guests. I take this opportunity on behalf of Center for Land Warfare Studies to welcome Dr. Sam Pitroda and convey our gratitude for accepting our request to talk to us on securing India through technology at a very short notice. And of course, we were also constrained in conveying our request to our audience, and therefore please pardon us if we've been too short in our notice. Of course, I must say the topic that we've given him is all-encompassing. It's too vast to be compressed into 1 hour, but of course he's been brave enough and he's accepted our request. Today actually happens to be the day when India conducted the second series of Shakti tests, and 13th May we did 2 sub-kiloton tests. When we talk of technology, we truly imbibed one cutting-edge technology as far as nuclear weapons are concerned in 1998, and we had entered the nuclear weapons club. Of course, when we look at securing India, the vastness of the subject, whether it is internal or external security, whether it's the cyber domain, when we look at technical sovereignty, defensive and offensive aspects of technology being utilized by the powers that be, and I'm not referring to the armed forces only, the financial, but a few things I would touch upon if you would be kind enough to look at them. And the first is space. The final frontier is shrinking. We've seen demonstration of ASAT weapons, of various type of satellites, and of course one reads only about the American endeavor to create a space vehicle called X-37B, which in 3 tenures has done about 1,347 days in space. We don't even know what they intend to do with that. or we are looking at our command, communications, control, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, tracking, name it what you have, all are going to be in the space domain very soon. And of course, this has changed the way one looks at intelligence and other systems. So the world is becoming very transparent, and how to hide it is another challenge. The second aspect is oceans. They're becoming more and more transparent. They're becoming visible. And if you combine technology with existing and future systems, maybe a day wouldn't be very far when the submarines would not be invulnerable as we thought them to be. So we're going to look at what technologies will do to the ocean in the future. One of the good parts of technology has been that has enhanced confidence building measures as far as the strategic domain is concerned. The new START specifically talks of technology intrusion into verification. Then we have our ground systems, sensors, and what have you to give transparency and information to decision makers. The latest we've heard is the drone warfare, the UAVs and the UCAVs, which are making or changing the battlefield. The contest between stealth and air defense systems is going on. Beyond visual range, weapons have made the attacker invisible, and you don't know where will you be struck or when will you be struck. Precision weapons reduce the number of weapons required to be fired and also the delivered weight. Big data, computers, intelligent machines are providing you excellent decision-making tools. We've all heard of the National Security Agency having a big center at Baltimore looking at mails and data which trumps the world. We of course looking at our own NCTC, NAPGRID, they're all pointers to where technology is going. And last month of course we heard how the terrorists are using the dark web and the Bitcoin system to transform the way they conduct terror attacks. And today's papers of course said that in high-tech exports, China leads the way. We probably hear a little bit more on that. And yesterday's Indian Express carried a news item that India is trawling the web to see what are the advanced pointers. Having said so much, I think it's time for me to request Dr. Pitroda to take stage and deliver his talk. May I request you, sir?
Lieutenant General Nagal, dignitaries, distinguished guests, distinguished officers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is indeed a special privilege for me to be here with you to talk about securing India through technology. I want to thank you for organizing this on a short notice. I want to thank Major Chandrakant Singh, who wrote me an email in the US just last week through a friend of mine, Oriya friend of mine, Bhavesh Das. And I readily agreed because I happened to be in town and I thought this would be a unique opportunity for me to interact with you and maybe I'll learn something. Subject is very complex. It has many dimensions and we all have our own perceptions as to what we need to do to secure India. To me, it is a concern for everybody, not just the government. It is a concern for an individual, community, and it's a concern from variety of initiatives and actions. security is not just about securing our land, securing our ocean, and securing our space. It is also about securing our food. Food security is very important. Securing our environment, securing our resources, securing our institutions, securing our infrastructure. If power fails, we got a serious problem. So how do you look at all of these things and then ultimately make some sense out of it is a challenge. So I'm delighted that we have an hour, that you have given me an hour to talk. I will sort of express my views. I haven't really thought a great deal about it. But I will think with you, and then hopefully during interactions, we'll go deeper into areas of interest to everybody. To me, India has three fundamental challenges. One, disparity. Disparity between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated, uneducated. This disparity has to be narrowed. It is so very visible everywhere you go around. And it's also of a nature that people just don't care. And that bothers some of us more than anything else. Two, demography. We have 550 million young below age of 25. What do we do with these people? How do we feed them, give them the right nutrition, give them right skills, employment, education, and better future than we had? At my age, I'm always thinking about the world I inherited and the world I'm going to leave behind for my grandchildren. The world I inherited was very simple, was poor. World we are leaving behind for our children is very complex and is fairly rich. So the third concern, is really development. So disparity, demography, and development. How do we really expedite the process of modernization using technology? How do we deliver growth, prosperity to large number of people at the bottom of the economic pyramid? Is the real challenge. And here we have two groups of people thinking differently. One thinks that the trickle-down effect will deliver development to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. And the others believe that if you don't start at the bottom, they will never get their due piece of the pie. So the growth is not about making few very rich, but growth is about really lifting 400 million below poverty line into some respectable standard of living. And all of these things get connected with security, and we'll see how this sort of plays in. Everywhere you look around, you also find that there are three fundamental challenges beside disparity, demography, and development. One is expansion. Everything needs to be expanded. More colleges, more schools, more professors, more doctors, more hospitals, more roads, more power. There is nothing that I know of in India that don't need real expansion. No matter what we have, is just not enough. Two, excellence. The quality of our institutions, products, services is pretty bad. Leaving aside top 10%. Quality of education is poor. Quality of health service is poor. Not that we don't have excellence, but we have excellence right at the top of the pyramid. Third, equity. We have to make sure that the poorest of the poor can indeed get the best education possible, best health treatment possible. Equity is very important aspect of India's security. I believe a lot of the issues we have with Naxalites and all have roots in really equity challenge. Many feel that we have been left behind in the process of development. We don't get the right piece of the pie. You also need to generate more employment, and for you need more energy. Technology has played and will play a very important role in all of these areas. Technology in the last 50 years has really made huge difference in the quality of life all over the world. Growing up in Orissa in 40s, life was pretty poor. I tell my friends that I had never made a telephone call in my life before going to America at the age of 22. People never had any telephones, and those who had telephones were too rich to be your friend. So who do you call? I had never seen television before going to America because nobody had television. And this wasn't too long ago. So technology today has come a long way. It has improved longevity, infant mortality, communication, it has improved power, transport, and comfort level all over the world has improved, even if it's for people at the top of the pyramid. At the same time, technology has not been able to solve many of the challenges related to poverty, hunger, environmental blunders, distribution. Most of the technology in the last 50 years has roots in defense, and mainly coming out of the US. And these technologies don't have roots in human development. To me, technology is a great social leveler, second only to death. It can put two unequal human beings on equal footing, two unequal societies on equal footing. Technology is problem solving. Technology is not something exotic, fancy, urban, elite. It is all about how do you use existing tools to solve a given problem, to improve productivity, efficiency, reduce cost, deliver services and all that. I've been saying this for the last 25 years that the best brains in the world are busy solving problems of the rich, who really don't have problems to solve. And as a result, problems of the poor really don't get the kind of talent it deserves. Best of the best talented people take jobs abroad or work for financial institutions. A great designer would work for Louis Vuitton or Cartier watch, but will not take a job to design slums because it's not paying. So how do you look at technology in light of the fact that the talent gets sucked by rich trying to solve their problems? A great mathematician will go solve the problem in terms of algorithm for the financial service and not for water flow in a river. You need same talent to look at flood, same mathematical modeling. That's not paying, so people don't do it. These are some of the challenges when we look at technology to solve the larger problems related to securing India. Technology is not just about IT, computers, software, satellite. Technology is also about biotech, nanotech, materials, alternate energy. I will now tell you a little bit about my own experience in technology and how we can connect this to then national security. I felt in early 80s that the biggest challenge in India is connectivity. If we can really connect this diverse nation to each other, it could change the nature of development in India. Fortunately, then I could convince Mrs. Indira Gandhi and then Rajiv Gandhi, who really provided political will and support to build institutional infrastructure more as a bypass to Department of Telecom, because we realized that it cannot be done within the existing structure. And the lesson I learned early, that if you want to do anything substantial in India, you got to create a bypass, because the existing systems will not allow you. People would be threatened, there will be tough war, and it won't get done, it will be killed. Knowingly, unknowingly. So we decided to set up a Center for Development of Telematics with 400 young people, highly dedicated, committed, right out of college, no experience. And we decided to develop digital telephone exchange to digitize India's network. We focus on accessibility, rural telecom, indigenous development, local manufacturing, ancillary industry, and developing local human capacity. Those were the guiding principles of what we were trying to do. Knowing that it was very difficult to convince Department of Telecom to buy local products. Knowing that the mentality is to only buy import. Knowing that there will be a lot of resistance to indigenous development. They'll give lip service, but they won't give you order. And that's where political will from Prime Minister came in handy. We made public commitments because I realized that making public commitments is a great way to motivate our young. If we said it will get done by this and this date, they made sure that it got done by that date. They would work 20 hours a day, 18 hours a day to deliver on the promise you made to the people of India. So the lesson we learned is the young talent in India is as good as you can find anywhere. You got to shield them, you got to motivate them, you got to protect them, you got to guide them, you got to mentor them. Believe me, it wasn't easy. There was a time when I had to get a psychiatrist from US to come to Delhi to study the mental health of the organization. It was a new idea. Everybody said, well, this is crazy. Well, why is he bringing psychiatrists? I said, I want to know the mental health of my 400 engineers. How do they think? And I learned a great deal from psychiatrists. He said, look, in India, self-esteem is very fragile. Everybody is ready to be heard. You don't say hello to me and say hello to somebody else, I won't talk to you for 3 days. He says, as a result, it's difficult to form teams. Teams require people with better self-esteem. And all modern work requires teamwork. Indian systems are hierarchical and feudal. And modern work requires egalitarian system. And it's very difficult to build those kinds of structures. Because all our organization structures are designed for the 40s and 50s and not for the 21st century. And we'll talk about this later on. So first phase was really to focus on telecom. Then after developing products, we realized that Department of Telecom will not deliver orders. So the only way to do that was to become chairman of the Telecom Commission. So I went to Rajiv Gandhi and I said, look, there is no way we can break this circle until I take the job. Too bad. You know, there was a lot of resistance. I was very young. You could be a secretary of Department of Telecom. I was Minister of State. And Cabinet Secretary said, you can't have two posts. I said, so I go down. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. We then built production base to deliver 20 million telephone lines and started privatization, deregulation, STD PCOs. These were the reasons privatization in telecom was easy. Because through STD PCO, people could see the benefits of telecom to larger number of people. Then we had 2 million telephones. It used to take about 15 years to get telephone connection. Today we have billion telephones and we are a nation of a connected billion. It's a huge accomplishment for a country in 25 years. It requires support from large number of people. Young talent, political bosses, industry, private entrepreneurs, regulatory authorities, you name it. Then I had a heart attack. Rajiv Gandhi got killed. I ran out of money and I decided to go back to the US to put my life in order. But when I decided to go back, I didn't have a visa to go back because I had given up my US nationality. I had become Indian citizen. You could go to US with the right visa, so I went on a tourist visa, but you could work as a tourist in US. So I had to restart my life all over again at the age of 52 or 53. Rebuild all of that. I was at a point my children were ready to go to college and we had no money to pay for their tuition. When everything was set, I looked back again in 94, saying the next big phase is knowledge. If we can build knowledge institutions and infrastructure in India, we can guarantee security of India in the long run. After connectivity, knowledge is going to be the key. So we set up a National Knowledge Commission to look at access to knowledge, knowledge concepts, knowledge creation, knowledge services, knowledge applications. We looked at 27 different subjects, from libraries to broadband connections to networks to school education, primary education, distance learning, university education, libraries, portals, innovations, entrepreneurship, e-governance, and we gave recommendations to the government, realizing that a lot of these recommendations will have difficult time getting implemented. Because the recommendations require multidisciplinary approach and the government is organized in vertical silos. Vocational education is a classical example. Vocational education is important, everybody knows it, but Department of Labor comes in, industry comes in, HR comes in, science and technology comes in, commerce comes in, and everybody thinks it is their responsibility and nobody gets it done. Knowing that vocational education is the key, because on one hand we have large number of people looking for jobs, on the other hand there are lots of jobs, but there is disconnect. You can't find a group plumber, electrician, carpenter, blacksmith, welder is a big example. So how do you get these kinds of things done, knowing that all of the technology and tools are available, but the organizational architecture is just not designed to deliver? After having spent some time on Knowledge Commission for 5 years, I went to the Prime Minister and I said, look, there are 2 other areas based on my knowledge, because this is the only thing I can do, is what I know. I can't do things I don't know. So I remember when I started my work on telecom, people used to say, don't spend time on telecom. India needs focus on water, agriculture. I said, I don't know anything about it. So you find somebody else. I can only do what I know how to do. So we decided that we should focus on building public information infrastructure to really create digital infrastructure for the country to take us to the next level, which require building knowledge network at the cost of about $2 billion, connectivity to broadband to panchayats, which was supposed to be done 4 years ago, still not done. And nobody has been taken to task for not getting it done on time, in spite of promises. You can't hang anybody, so things get delayed all the time. Then creating UID, which got done, rightfully so, under the right leadership, different kind of organization architecture. If UID had been a department responsibility, it would never get done. It got done because you had to set up a bypass. Then we decided to set up a group for national GIS. Again, we wanted to set up a bypass by creating a separate organization. Couldn't do it because of all kinds of interests. And it's just hanging there. Mainly because today we have 10 different types of maps. Every department has their own map. Revenue department has a map. Power department has their map. Telecom department has their map. And our idea was to get all maps consolidated. Create national GIS that everybody uses with right kind of portal in real time. Idea is good. Took 2 years to convince everybody. Cabinet note was approved. The idea was to create a bypass by setting up a separate organization. Couldn't do it. We knew that the IT brings about openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, decentralization, and ultimately will bring about transformation. IT could be a great enabler, but you need people to change. You need change agents in the system. So we also felt that there's a need to create a group on innovation. So people innovate. But how do you create innovation infrastructure for a country? Everybody knows how to do innovations in a company because you basically focus on product, cost, efficiency, productivity, markets. But how do you get a nation to innovate? So we set up a group as a National Innovation Council to really focus on innovation as a platform, focus on innovation ecosystem with venture capital, private equity, IP protection, all of that. Define drivers for the innovation. Put emphasis on innovations in schools and colleges, in science museums, scholarships, all of that. And really stir up the system to begin to think differently. All of these things are connected to technology for security ultimately. When I look at last 68 years of India's independence, I see 5, 6 visible technological achievements staring in your eyes. One is atomic energy. Baba and political will from Nehru. Space, Vikram Sarabhai. Agriculture, Swaminathans and Dr. Rao and Randavas and others. Dr. Kurian, milk production. Telecom and defense. So it says that we can do it provided we have the right kind of support from the political bosses and the right kind of domain experts leading these initiatives. These are great examples of what can be done in India. While all of these things were going on, new technology called internet changed everything. To me, internet was the biggest disruption in the history of mankind. Something like internet happened when language was invented. 15,000 years ago. Internet is disrupting in many ways than atom bomb. But that destruction is very invisible. Internet has changed delivery systems, products, services, business models. In a sense, everything we do today is basically obsolete. But we are not willing to accept it. The way we teach today is totally obsolete. Today, in internet era, I don't need teacher to deliver content and create content. Because best of the best have already created content on the internet. And delivery is available in many different forms. But I need teacher to be a mentor. None of our teachers all over the world are trained to be mentor. They are only trained to deliver content and create content. Children don't learn the way I learn. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, lives in San Francisco. And ever since she was 2.5, she Skypes me every day. And these kids, like any other normal kid, know how to Skype on their own. And many times she would say, Dada, bandwidth is not good. Now you take that kid and send them to school and teacher will start teaching ABCD and kid would say, who the hell you think I am? Our teaching methods just don't work anymore. But we don't know that and we don't want to change it. Same thing with health. I don't need to go to doctor for everything I know, for everything that happens to me. Okay. Same thing with governance. Every area of our activity today needs to be redesigned. What we are doing is we are taking internet to do the same thing we have been doing for ages. As opposed to say, if there was internet, do you think we'll do it same way? All our processes are obsolete. Many of our processes are left behind by British Raj. We have complicated it and now we are computerizing it. And it's scary. And we take great pride in computerizing. I have said that the e-governance effort that has been going on in this country is completely crap. And when I say this, people react. Say, how dare you can say that? The fact is that most of our e-governance effort was done in an era where there was no cloud computing. There were no open source software opportunities. And there was very little in terms of low-cost terminals. So every state decided to do their own internet-based digitization of their processes. Every state has their own little software, every state has police reports computerized, and there is no interoperability. I cannot take a police report from Kerala and make sense in Gujarat, as an example. You have no standards. Everybody has their own birth certificate. So everything we have done for the last 30 years just has to be scrapped. And you need to start putting things on cloud. You need standard software. You need interconnectivity. I spent 3 years trying to convince Supreme Court justices, 5 of them, to computerize 32 million court cases to reduce time to justice from 15 years to 3 or 4. Everybody agreed? Can't do it. We tried to computerize police and integrate that with prison and courts. Everybody said, no, we want to do our vertical silos and then we'll integrate. Doesn't work that way. You got to start from day one integration. So a lot of these efforts in technology are being wasted because of organizational tough wars. Everything today requires horizontal structures. And in Rajiv Gandhi's time, when we by accident set up technology missions on water, literacy, immunization, edible oil, milk production and telecom, we realized that those were special bypass mechanisms. very few people recognize that the polio has been eradicated in this country because technology mission was set up in '87 on immunization. Because Rajiv Gandhi gave permission to spend $300 million then to set up our own polio vaccine plant when India was not making any vaccine. Today India is the largest producer of vaccine in the world. But it took 20 years. A lot of these things take long time to get done. Internet gives us a whole different way of solving problems. Internet also gives us not many more tools to work with. Internet of Things is a big thing. Robots, drones are new tools for tomorrow. So when we talk about bordering our or securing our borders, we really need to go to electronics, internet to secure our borders. The days when our soldiers with guns securing our borders are over. We need drones, electronic fencing, we need robots. It's all there, we know how to do it. We just have to get it done. And it's very cost effective. Technology is all here, our young people know how to do it. But do we have the will to take those steps? For example, when Obama came here, I had an opportunity to spend about half an hour. And I told him about what we are doing on public information infrastructure and all that. And he was quite pleased with the vision we had. And he said, how do you think like this? And I said, look, we have to because we are 1.2 billion people. So we decided to start a joint program on open government platform. So we took about a group of people from our team, 10, and 10 from White House. And we worked jointly for 9 months on internet. Nobody ever visited, except I believe one trip of 2 or 3 people. Well, they will get up, they'll work. When we'll get up, we'll work. Every morning we will have internet conference call. So 24 hours cycle of work. And we developed open government platform for the world. We launched it in Washington with Hillary Clinton and all. In Delhi, never got any attention from media or anything. Nobody paid any attention, nobody had any interest in it. Because it was not about some controversy. It was not about political gossip. Indian television, which I hardly watch, is all about cricket, Bollywood, and political gossip. That's my view. I could be wrong. Yeah. How do you get development into the mainstream of media? This product is for the government to open their data. Everybody liked it, we launched it, then comes the real challenge. Go to Cabinet Secretary and said we want to open data. Nobody wants to open data in Indian government. Everybody wants to hold on to their data, saying we need sanitization of data. We don't know whether this data is available to public or not. So I have a meeting with Monte Caluvaria and Planning Commission and say, I want to open all Planning Commission data. Monte said, great idea, Sam, let's do it. Next week, Secretary Planning Commission sets up a committee to look at opening data. 6 months. Finally, after lots of fight all over, we start opening data. Today, I believe we have more than 1,200 data sets open. But US government has almost 80,000 data sets open. Again, organizational architectures are really not designed to do these kinds of things. So to me, internet is the biggest opportunity available to all of us to secure our education, our health, our borders, our ocean, our skies. But it requires innovative approaches to do it. We can't take what we are doing today and then use the internet to do the same thing. We're going to scrap what we are doing completely, which is pretty risky at times. And so now we are going to do it very differently. So internet is all about doing new things that we have never done before. It is not just about doing the same thing we have been doing with new tools. Look at the volume of data we create today. It is just mind-boggling. And I'll go into numbers quickly. I can read those numbers because it's interesting. But I do believe we are at a tipping point. We are at a tipping point because lots of data is being created. And now we need to make sense out of this data. We need to get intelligence out of this data. We have not analyzed any of this data before. A lot of this data is just not in the form you can make real sense out of it to make new decisions. Data knows us better than we know ourselves. Data tells us who we are, what we do, how we do it, when do we do it. We sort of do it. If you put that data in front of you, you'll be surprised to know who you are. We process, or we sort of produce 5,000 gigabits of data every 2 days. Entire human civilization created that kind of data from the time we started to year 2000. Can you imagine that? The amount of data we are creating today is unbelievable. The digital trail that we leave behind every day is just mind-boggling. Every time I take a flight, make a phone call, buy something, travel somewhere, I leave a trail behind everywhere. Every time I tweet, I leave a trail behind. Every time I do something on Facebook, I leave a trail behind. I have a friend in the US who came to me to show me a software. He said, Sam, this software detects instantly in about 10 minutes your entire world, your world. I said, let's plug my phone number. So we plugged in live my own phone number. And you begin to see on the screen, I have that software, you begin to see on the screen who all the people I talk to, where are they, who do they call, who is watching my tweet, who is watching what I do. My God, it's an impressive diagram. These are the tools of tomorrow. So he said we took this tool to American government and we installed it in Brazil at the games. And they could prevent 11 terrorist attacks in Brazil because of this software. It's all known. You know who is going to do what. You know why they are tweeting, you know who is calling whom, and you just begin to trace them and know exactly where the challenge is. These are the tools of tomorrow. We need to learn to use these tools. They are all there. We can develop our own. So data is going to be the key in security. But there's a darker side of data. Criminals, terrorists, and hackers understand the power of networks. And they know that if you control the code, you control the crowd. We got to be one step ahead of all of them. Ability to control good and evil have scaled exponentially. And we must recognize that big data is going to have huge impact. It's going to change our relationships with each other. Let me read some of the big data numbers quickly. We still have 10 minutes and I'll cover other subjects. Today we send 200 billion emails every day. Every day. How do you analyze these emails? Who is sending email to whom and for what? Tools are available. There are 25 billion photographs on Instagram, 100 billion mobile devices, 10 billion mobile devices, sorry. 6 million miles of road available on Google Maps. 100 hours of video gets loaded on YouTube every minute. Technology is allowing us all to do this because prices are low, because speeds are very high of microprocessors and fiber optics and all that. Networks are designed to handle this kind of traffic, and people have committed billions and billions in building this kind of infrastructure. The problem today for India is we do not control strategic data. Strategic data for India is controlled by Google's, Facebook, Twitter's and everybody else. It's our data. WhatsApp, value 19 billion, 40% of the market in India. What does India get? Nothing. Data goes through our own network, our own nodes, but we don't capture it. Somebody else benefits from it. We do not have strategic control of our own data because nobody has paid attention. How do we then change our mindset to say we got to build our own data sets? We got to have servers here. When I tweet today, it goes all the way to US and comes back. It's amazing that with all the software talent we have, we don't have our own Twitter. We don't have our own Facebook. We don't have our own WhatsApp. We don't have our own operating system. Why is that? Not because we don't have talent. Because we don't have political will that understand these kinds of issues. It's one thing to give all the lip service. We'll create digital India, but they have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, they have no clue. But people get impressed because they also don't know. This country of billion cannot allow data to be in the hands of others. We will have to spend billions in pulling all this data back to us. Understand, analyze, and make sense out of it. So when I look at, for example, securing borders, I think of technologies of big data as the key. Big data will tell me what am I doing, where am I doing, how I am doing, why I am doing it. You need a large number of people just analyzing data and looking at it. Okay. Sorry about that. So how do you secure your borders? With electronic fencing, it is possible to do it. Not with electrical fencing. With drones, robot battalion. All of these things are possible today. When I look at Indian soldier, and I look at a soldier from US in Iraq, just look at two pictures. It'll tell you a lot. How those people are equipped versus how our people are equipped. Whether it is IR, lenses, or whatever tools you have, just see it and you will know it. We need to really redesign tools for that. And all technology is available. You got to do all these things indigenously. It's not about just getting from abroad, Chinese or somebody, some equipment and then use it. Because then you will constantly be upgrading and spending more money rather than building talent and jobs and infrastructure here. Okay. Same with our skies. Satellite data is a huge thing. Are we really using satellite data effectively? Do we really have satellite data analyzing capabilities? Whether it is for agriculture or for patrolling our ocean robotic submarine technology is already here. We got a 50 robotic submarine floating around in our waters. We can do it. That's how you secure your waters. Okay. But you got to build it here. You can't import 50 robotic submarines from somewhere else and expect that we'll be able to build the kind of infrastructure we need. Same with disaster management, emergency management. We need Indian solutions, Indian model of development, and we need Indian talent pool doing these things. We know what needs to be done, even in cybersecurity, which is a huge thing. There's a defensive cybersecurity aspect, offensive aspect. We got to be equally aggressive on both sides. Everybody else is. We can't be nice guys all the time. What kind of offensive we have? Very little. I had done a position paper for the UN on creating a special cybersecurity council. I gave it to Secretary General of UN. He liked it, Sam, this is a great idea. I know him. He said, oh, we'll do it. Nothing happens naturally. I gave it to our NSA. Great idea. Nothing happened. My vision then was we create cybersecurity council where we take the lead as India and create 10,000 people, cyber police, and provide it to the world. Somebody has to take that decision. Not be my decision, but I know how to do it, or I know people who know how to do it. Okay. If we don't take those kinds of bold decisions, we won't be able to secure it the way we want to secure it. We can do it. The only country that can come up with 10,000 cybersecurity experts is India. Nobody else can do it. But India has to say, we're going to do it. We will provide a workforce to the world for cybersecurity. We provide police today, we provide, facility to UN to fight in other countries. We can do the same thing and lead cybersecurity council because it's totally different. But again, the whole mindset has to be very different. I know my time is up, but I want to basically summarize by saying securing India is everybody's job. It is very complex. We can secure land, water, and airspace, but that's not enough. We got to secure India from many dimensions. Internet of Things, big data, internet, robotics, drones are the tools of tomorrow. And we got to build expertise in all of these things now. You got to be able to say, put 500 people on drones, put 500 people on robotics. They are all there, young people. I mean, look at all our software, multi-billion-dollar companies. They don't develop products. They should say, here is $1 billion, give it to 1,000 young kids, and don't bother them for five years, and let them blow it. And then something will come out of it. There is very little risk capital available in this country to experiment. You need that risk capital to take risk. Nobody wants to take risk. If you don't take risk, there are no rewards. There is young talent. We know technology. They'll figure it out if you leave them alone. We need change agents and we need new organizational architecture. What I call bypasses. You need to create bypasses everywhere. And somehow bypass will take over the old system in the future. We need new institution building. All our institutions are old, obsolete, don't make sense. They unnecessarily build physical infrastructure. And there is very little heart in it. There is very little intellectual infrastructure. So you go see all over the world these big buildings, big office complex, and what is coming out of it? Very little. Why? because of our entire organization architecture is such, it doesn't allow people to take risks and think differently, do different things. We really need to keep a lot of working groups on many of these areas, turn them loose and really create a blueprint for tomorrow. A blueprint for technology to secure India through a lot of these areas. India is at crossroad, world is equally at crossroad. India is at crossroad because we are a nation of a connected billion for the first time in the history. We have huge talent today, and we believe we can make a difference in how we design India of the future. We know the concept. We know that we need to focus on inclusion, inequality, equity, bottom of the economic pyramid. We know that technology is the answer. We know that the young talent is here, and we know that we need to redesign a lot of our institutions and infrastructure. That is the challenge. The world is at crossroads because the world that was built after World War II, with US initiative, based on UN, World Bank, IMF, NATO, WIPO, all this stuff, doesn't work anymore. Because today, the world is no longer bipolar or unipolar. The world is multipolar. And in this multipolar world, India has to take a lead. India cannot take lead if India cannot have a blueprint for securing India and building a strong base. It is indeed a great challenge, and it requires a lot of debate. Today, we have sort of covered lots of topics, but this is the beginning of a conversation. We need a new conversation on securing India in different dimensions. It cannot be done in one talk or one day or 1 week. But I hope this will begin a new conversation on securing India through technology. Thank you very much.